time.
Thank you for having me.
I hope you're well.
Yes, I am soldiering on.
And talking about soldiering on, we're just reading the opinion of Madame Elizabeth Tohini, and this is, we don't know how to call it because she wrote it in her column and was suggesting that this is like the opinion piece that she writes in that column, even though she's board chair of Ssnit. I'm sure you've gone through it and the kind of issues she raised, including why did you even terminate the demonstration at the Jubilee House, that you were way off when you went there, and the fact that you are politicizing the matter because it's an election among others. Have you read? What's your response?
Well, let me begin by extending very warm regards to all the listeners of Radio Gold and to you and your colleagues at Radio Gold. First of all, it is important to state that there are good corporate governance practices. The Honorable Elizabeth Tohini, is she speaking on behalf of the board, the entire board, which includes the reps of organized labor, or she is speaking in her individual capacity? That is problematic, because when you are holding public office and you seek to communicate, you have to be clear. Are you presenting the position of the board? Because as we speak, on the 20th of May this year, organized labor held a press conference and told all of us that their reps on the board opposed this transaction. They didn't think it was in our best interest. They had so many problems with it. And they are shocked that the transaction progressed, and that but for my expose, they didn't know that the transaction was ongoing and was about to be finalized. At a press conference, I have a copy of the statement. We all had organized labor, and organized labor has been protesting since. So who is the Honorable Elizabeth Tohini speaking for? Is she speaking in her personal capacity, or she is speaking for the entire board? And does the entire board agree with what she's saying? Because we know that at least 4 board members who are reps of labor are speaking totally at variance, where she says that this transaction is above board, very clean, all the angels in heaven and everybody will conclude that this is a very clean deal. Totally preposterous claims. How come other board members do not share this view? So that is the first challenge that I have with this statement. Now let me come to
So your first challenge is whether or not this is her personal opinion or the opinion of the board.
Is it a personal opinion or is that of the board? Because ideally, it should be a statement from the board, the Ssnit board letterhead, signed, and it should be an agreed position. So there ought to be a board meeting, and then the board will say that we are putting out a statement, we are vetting the content, this is what we all agree with. But that is not what we see. You are hearing Elizabeth Tohini go all out to defend this deal, and then we have had other board members from organized labor who say that they are totally opposed. They are vehemently opposed to this deal. So look at the confusion. The same board, you have one person putting out an opinion article claiming that everything is squeaky clean. And then you have 4 board members who have held a press conference with their leaders of organized labor saying that this deal stinks to the high heavens. And they have provided a list of why this deal stinks to the high heavens. They have, for example, said that they don't think it is right to be selling state assets to a minister of state. At that same press conference, they said that the payment terms have been varied and that Brachampo has been offered a sweetheart deal. At that same press conference, Organized Labor revealed that all the hotels are being treated the same way when they don't have the same financial position, and they have a problem with that. Did the Honorable Elizabeth Ohene consult her colleague board members before putting out this article, which seeks to create the impression that this is a position of the Ssnit board? Because if you read the article carefully, she kept saying that we decided that we will do this. We decided that we will implement this. And we know that we have acted above board. And we don't agree with what the Honorable Okudzeto Ablakwa is saying. So who are the we? Who are the we? So that is the first challenge. And that is a major challenge. Now, let's delve into the issues that she raises. I must state emphatically, Senna, that the Honorable Elizabeth Ohene deliberately avoids all the critical issues, all of them. She doesn't address even one of the fundamental issues.
Really?
One of the not even one. So let me list the issues that she has avoided, and she thinks that we will come along on this distraction, because that's what she has done. The first issue that the majority of Ghanaians are appalled about, are disgusted about, is the conflict of interest. Why should a minister of state be given these hotels when Article 284 of the Constitution is very clear? When Article 78 of the Constitution is very clear? When Article 98 of the Constitution is very clear? If Ssnit had done their due diligence, they would have found out that Honorable Brachampo has not sought permission from the Speaker of Parliament to hold an office of profit, to engage in transactions of this nature. Ssnit ought to have, as soon as you decided that your choice, you are going to give this to Rock City Hotel, you know that the director, the sole shareholder, the sole beneficial owner, according to the Articles of Incorporation, is the Honorable Brachampo. What does the Constitution say about politically exposed persons? MPs, ministers of state must subject themselves to the committee of members holding profit. They must be vetted. Those transactions must be scrutinized to be sure that there is no conflict of interest. That's what the Constitution says. And then they ought to be given a certificate. So they should have asked Honorable Brachampo, where is your certificate from the Speaker that you can engage in transactions of this nature? Ssnit didn't do that. And Elizabeth Ohene is saying that angels will come and applaud her, that they have done a great job. So the conflict of interest issues, major conflict of interest issues, she does not address them at all. The Constitution breaches Article 284, Article 78, Article 98. She deliberately avoids that. Number two, the second major issue that she avoids is the business case for this transaction, the rationale, the policy imperatives, the considerations. Why did the State Board decide to sell these hotels, including a profitable hotel, probably the most profitable business entity in Ghana today as we speak, Labadi Beach Hotel, which only last year, posted a gross profit of 158 million cedis, has 58.4 million cedis cash reserves in its 5 bank accounts. As we speak, only last year, they paid dividend to government of 25 million Ghana cedis. Why are you treating all these hotels as though they have the same situation, the same financial position, they're in the same category? What is the business case? What was the board thinking about? Because, you see, she cleverly says that, oh, we inherited this decision. I was sworn in August 2021 This process started in 2018. But in the same write-up, you say that you decided that you will implement to the max all the decisions of the previous board. So having come to that position, what were the considerations? What handing over notes did you meet? Why did the previous board? Because remember that when this whole matter started, if you read the Ssnit statement of 19th May, they sought to create the impression that all these hotels are not doing well, they are not profitable. It was when I intercepted the financial statements of these hotels by Deloitte and published it, and Ghanaians saw how profitable Labadi Beach Hotel has become. They saw that Ssnit had been lying to us all along. So the fundamental issue that Ghanaians were expecting a board chair to address, the business case, the commonsensical analysis, why they came to this position that these hotels, including a very, very profitable Labadi Beach Hotel, should be sold. Did they address that? Number three, the other major concern that Ghanaians have had is the value for money issues. Value for money. I have published the evaluation report of these hotels. Ssnit's own evaluation report. And don't forget that I also published how we have spent $500,000, $491,000 on the transaction advisors to advise on this sale. The transaction advisors, after we have spent over 7 million Ghana cedis, they give you the valuation, the figures, and you are not using it. So financial loss has been caused, which if you knew you were not going to take advice from the transaction advisors, you are not going to abide by the valuation report. Why spend so much money to obtain these valuations, these reports? Now, it has emerged that you have chosen Brian Achapo as your preferred bidder. His offer is only $61 million. Your valuation report says this should be $121 million. That is the market value, the fair market value. That is the expression they use, fair market value. Why is it that the Honorable Elizabeth Ohene does not address this fundamental issue? Now, Senna, as we speak, the waters have further been muddied. It's been muddied, poto, as we say in Ghana, poto. Because Mr. Freddie Blake, the former chairman of the MPP, has released a bombshell. All along, MPP propagandists have been telling us that Brad Champon made the highest offer. Ssnit itself has been telling us that Brad Champon put in the best bid, a bid of $61 million, that it was the highest. Brad Champon bid more than anybody else. Now here we have it. Mr. Freddie Blay has released a bombshell that his son, remember that I exposed them, that if you read her article, she seeks to create the impression that I put out no expose, everything they were doing was out there. And that is why I keep reminding listeners of what I have exposed, because all you put out was adverts, that's all. Until my expose that you were selling to a minister, nobody knew that. These financial statements, nobody knew that. You were hiding all of this from the Ghanaian people. So there are so many, and Ghanaians know. Ghanaians know. Organized labor have time without number commended me that what I put out, even they have been asking at the board level, and Ssnit refused to give them all of that information. So I don't care if she doesn't want to give me any credit for the parliamentary oversight that we have done. I don't care. What we are doing is not for personal glory. We are trying to serve our country as the Constitution expects of us and as the Ghanaian people expect of us. So she can go on and on about me doing nothing. I don't mind. But the point I was making is that now Freddie Blay has told us that his son, the CEO of Spartan Ives, who also put in a bid. And interesting was one of the 6 shortlisted companies by Ssnit. They have revealed that their bid was between 150 and 200 million dollars. Can you believe that? So the bid by the 34-year-old son of Freddie Blay, it is another matter how, and we know that it's quite interesting, how the young man could raise all of this money, but that's okay. They say they can justify how they raise this money with their business partners and all of that. So that's okay. But the government of the issue is that they offered 150 to 200 million dollars. Why has Ssnit been lying to us all along that they haven't seen any higher bid than what Brad Champon offered? And that is why, despite the conflict of interest concerns, they gave this bid to Brad Champon. So a third major issue that the Honorable Elizabeth Ohene deliberately refuses to address. Number 4, there is another major issue about the procurement breaches. The procurement breaches. Look, under our law, when you start the procurement process, you say that you are carrying out a tender for 6 hotels. You describe the nature of the tender. If you change it, you must start afresh. Why was the Honorable Brad Champon allowed to select the top 4, the best of these hotels, and then he abandoned the 2, Buzia and Trust Lodge? That ought to have immediately ensured that the procurement process starts afresh. Then, still on procurement issues, it has now emerged, after we intercepted the GRA filings of the Honorable Brad Champon's Rock City, it has emerged that when Rock City put in the bid, they had not filed their taxes for 2 good years. 2 good years they had not filed their taxes. When you don't file your taxes, your annual corporate income tax returns, you are not issued with a tax clearance certificate. And under our procurement laws, under the Income Tax Act of 2015, every bid for any government contract, any government project, and if you read Ssnit's own advertisement, their pre-qualification requirements, they themselves stated that you must have a GRA tax clearance certificate. Mr. Freddie Blay, Mr. Brad Champon, pardon me, did not have a tax clearance certificate, at least a valid one. Because if you haven't filed your taxes for 2 years, they should come and tell us that probably one was forged and they didn't do their due diligence. That itself is criminal, and it means that somebody ought to be prosecuted. Between Rock City and Ssnit, major issues that have not been addressed. Then finally, the Honorable Elizabeth Ohene seeks to create the impression that, oh, you know what, we are a law unto ourselves. We don't take instructions from anybody. We don't account to anybody. We didn't need the president's permission. We don't need the president's approval. We are doing everything on our own at Ssnit. My goodness, nothing can be more dangerous. The president appoints all of you. You are all accountable to him. Even if you read your own laws, you must prepare annual report, and give it to the minister, who must then give it to the president and give us a copy, give Parliament a copy. When I say us, Parliament. Read Ssnit's own laws. So this business that you don't report to anybody is even against your laws. So when from this Chinese war that the Honorable Elizabeth Ohene is creating, a Chinese war between Ssnit, which is a state entity, is for the government. Who is the head of government? All of you there are only there on delegated authority. The president is the overall authority. He has fiduciary ultimate fiduciary responsibility. That is the position of the law. So, where from this Chinese wall that she is erecting between Ssnit and the president, trying to insulate the president and trying to claim that they don't take instructions from the president. Meanwhile, a few years ago, and your production team can just Google when the MPP was in power, in opposition, pardon me, when they were in opposition, and the Ssnit said that they wanted to divest their shares in Merchant Bank, and they were opposed to it. The MPP was opposed to it. The MPP held numerous press conferences, issued numerous statements, and directly called on President Mahama to stop the transaction. In their own words, one of the statements issued by Bobby Asamoah and another by Anthony Cabo, the then youth organizer. And these are all statements endorsed by Elizabeth Ohene'S. She was part of the campaign team. They were issuing these statements. In 2012, they said that President Mahama has the ultimate responsibility. He has a fiduciary responsibility. He is the one who is approving all these transactions. They even at the time said that these things were being done because his brother had an interest in Fortis. You remember that Fortis, he was the secret owner. Ibrahim Mahama was the secret owner of Fortis. So these double standards, the very people who in opposition said that Ssnit cannot sell without approval from the president. Ssnit cannot engage in any major transaction without the blessing of the president, and that they will hold the president responsible. Today, they are telling us to leave the president out, and that I only led the demonstrators to Jubilee House because it is a sexy thing to do. But I was a long shot away. I mean, can you believe that? Such hypocrisy. Such hypocrisy. When they were issuing statements, sending petitions, even went to court, that President Mahama ought to be stopped. President Mahama should intervene. President Mahama should stop selling our bank to his brother when they knew that Ibrahim Mahama had nothing to do with Fortis. Where were all of these arguments they are making today? They didn't know that there is a Chinese war between a president and Ssnit, and that they have total autonomy in the management of Ssnit funds. If that is the case, why do you report to the minister? Why did the president himself invite organized labor to discuss this matter? If the president has no role, has no power, why is the president intervening? Why has the president invited organized labor? A meeting which now has become a useless one because the president sought to convince them, and organized labor said, no, we are not shifting our position. So, I mean, this piece by the Honorable Elizabeth Ohene'S, it does not address the issues, it doesn't resolve anything, and it does not shed light at all on the fundamental issues. And look, she ought to come back, and this time we want to see a proper statement. We want to see that people who we are paying with our taxes are sitting together, analyzing the issues, and putting together a board position. That's what we want to see. Not these personal, write-ups that do not address the real issues.
But let me then read a portion and ask does it make any difference for you when she says, I am able to say with utmost certainty that the process that led to the selection of Rock City as a preferred bidder was clean, above board, and met every rule and regulation and can withstand every scrutiny. I know you raised questions with that whole process. But then the portion where she then continues is, Mr. Okudzeto Ablakwa claims to have God and Ghana on the side of his campaign. And I hope all of God's angels and Ghana's investigative agencies, temporal and spiritual, would examine the process and tell the world if they find any irregularity or trace of corrupt practice. Indeed, if they should find any evidence of corruption, I will assume and accept responsibility and expects to be prosecuted. Does it make any difference that she is ready to face any form of investigation into this whole process?
I am glad that she has indicated that she is willing to face the full consequences of her leadership role, because that is what we are demanding. And I am even more glad that I have not left these matters in the arena of just public debate and public conversations. Indeed, because I have absolute conviction in the breaches, the constitutional violations, the clear, abominable conduct in many, many aspects of this transaction. That is why I have gone to Shraj. And that is why I am cooperating with Shraj. And indeed, other organizations are cooperating with Shraj in their investigations. I'm happy that we can wait for an independent body, a credible one, to delve into these matters and to issue a report on this matter. And I am also glad that in a few months, the Ghanaian people will vote for President John Dramani Mahama. But we know that under this government, they don't prosecute their own. They don't investigate and prosecute their own. See what is happening even in my case with the National Cathedral. After the Reverend Kusi Boateng, Kwabena Edu-Jefi, has been terribly exposed with his double identity scams, the High Court, the Human Rights Court, has declared his conduct criminal. They have refused to dismiss him from the National Cathedral Board, to arrest him, and to prosecute him. And they have allowed him to keep piling appeal upon appeal upon appeal. And yesterday he lost one, the third loss in a row. But he continues. And it's all to waste my time, to attempt to gag me. He's abusing the judicial process. He never steps in court. He doesn't come to court. But I am required to go to court always. I mean, can you believe that? So
the plaintiff in the matter does not go to court.
He has never.
You've never seen him in court?
Never been to court. Not once. Can you believe that? Not once.
But you are always
What kind of country is this? Yes. But I am required to be in court.
Required?
Every day. Yes.
When you say you are required, it's mandatory for you to be there, but he can.
Exactly. 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 And they always, before the case begins, they ask for a whereabouts. I have to stand and indicate that I am present in court. And my parliamentary time is being wasted.
And that was what I was coming to, because if between the two of you, if there's one person who can have an excuse for not going to court, it's you.
But I am in court always. He has never showed up. Never. Not once. And not once have the judges said that, look, where is this plaintiff? He keeps bringing all these cases. He never shows up. Where is he? They've never taken judicial notice and taken a strong exception. But I'm sure if I was not showing up in court, it will have become a major issue. So that is the country that we live in, where people who have clearly engaged in criminality, how can you have two murders, two dates of death, two things that the law do not allow anybody, different identities, and you manage to even obtain a diplomatic passport in another name, Kwabena Edu-Jefi, with the foreign minister has confirmed in Parliament after I filed an urgent question to confirm our oversight, our parliamentary investigations. All of these things have been confirmed. He has not been able to refute or contradict any of the scandalous findings we have made. And yet, he continues to abuse the judicial process, and it's as if it's me, who is a bad guy and who is on trial. So, back to Elizabeth Ohene'S, she knows that their own government, which has the tendency of protecting criminals and making sure that none of their own are prosecuted, they are always cleared by the president. So she can boldly make these assertions. But I know that the time is coming. It will not be long. All of these scandalous transactions will be thoroughly investigated, and the real prosecutions will be done. So I can only indicate my gladness that she is ready to face the music. You know, and you see, we all know, Sana, we all know that the Honorable Okudzeto Ablakwa has been writing and has been engaged in public advocacy for many, many years. You know that, Sana. You know that for decades. Do you recall what they used to say? All of them used to write about conflict of interest. Why they didn't think that the PNDC, NDC era, when they were doing divestiture, you remember that 31st December Women's Movement should not have been allowed to purchase in Sawan Cannery. They shouldn't have come anywhere close, anywhere near that transaction. All of them, Elizabeth Ohene was one of the prolific writers about these matters. Today, she is telling us that everything is pretty clean. She doesn't smell, she doesn't see, she cannot identify conflict of interest when she sees it. Can you believe that? These same people who wrote extensively, even to the international press, to the BBC and others, the apostles of conflict of interest, who stood on very high moral ground and educated, lectured us on conflict of interest. Today, they say that we are just blowing hot air. Unbelievable, Senna. Unbelievable.
Oh, thank you. There's a lot more to talk to you about, but I think we have to find time and for you to come in studio so that we do the North Tongue interview that we advertised some time back to. So it will be nice.
Yes. We need to. I owe you that. Yes. I owe you that. So we'll arrange. I'll talk to your producers.
Oh, great. Honorable Sammy Okudzeto Ablakwa is Member of Parliament for North Tongue, joining us this morning to respond to that. So if you go to the day graphic, I think the page is called Opinion. They read Opinion, Coming Out of the Hotels by Elizabeth Ohene. Honorable says nothing she wrote in this, whether it's opinion or whatever it is, answers any of the germane